Hi, fellow Nigerians. Greetings, I bring you best wishes. My name is Nya-Etok Ezekiel. I am an architect and I'm doing this for the first time. So that's trying to go live. It just occurred to me, I've been thinking this past, for a while now, I've been thinking, doing a lot of thinking. Actually, tomorrow, November 1, will be my 62nd birthday. 62. Sounds like a big joke. 62. You know, and it's actually serious, very serious. And in a country where the life expectancy is not above up to that level, I think it's around 56, something like that. I could confirm that. So to be 62 is big deal in a sense, and one cannot but be grateful to God for so many things. As a result, from tomorrow, please, you may not be able to interact in any way because I'm still trying to learn. It's just like getting to understand how it works and everything, But from tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be 62, November 1. And, so many things, you sit down and you really kind of look back and you realize that there are things that in your life that's worth actually documenting. As a result, as from tomorrow and for the next, you mean they're actually people? It's interesting. Okay, hi guys. From tomorrow, I will actually be coming on live around this time, about 8:30, for about 30 minutes daily, not to sermonize, not to preach, but to talk. It's going to be more like a monologue, to talk about my life, to talk about myself. There are so many things that I've experienced in life that I think that two things. The first is that when you get up to 60, you can't afford the luxury of taking things for granted. I mean, these days, all I hear is, if you go to the old boys or your old students group, and all you keep hearing, this guy, oh, he's dead. Oh, no, Hapa, he died about 5 years ago. Oh, he didn't hear, he's dead. And it's just that all your friends, so many people are just dying. And so you need to borrow sense and start to document certain things. So in the next 30 days, starting from tomorrow, about 8:30 every day, I'll come live, and it will be just talking about things that I've gone through. And I think that there's a lot that the young people, I keep having people, oh, please mentor us, and time really does not permit for me to get to mentor the young people the way I would love to. But there are certain life experiences that I've had that I think will benefit a lot of young people, particularly. Even the elderly ones, there are some things you could take from it. So from tomorrow, November 1, when I turn 62, I will be coming on every day. It will be a way of, so many people have wanted to write story of my life and so many things, and I keep telling them, no. But I think I will start to document those things. So as much as I could have, platforms where or days where I could interact with people, but it would be a lot more of monologue. There's so much about my life, that I would like to just let out some things and experiences, things that I've gone through, You know, I started life very early, very, very, very early. There are things I will say that will shock you somewhat, because I had no mentor, I had nobody to look up to, and a lot of people see me and they're like, "Oh, this Ajay Butter guy, Ajay what? No way!" You know, if you hear something, it's like, "Ah, guy, it's not true." But trust me, every single thing is very true, and this is not it. Today, I'm just like testing how it works and things like that. And I want to thank Daryl. Daryl has, if you notice, you saw one face before now, and they're like, "What's going on?" You know, so many people were, and in a curious way, so many people watched it. I'm like, "What's going on?" You know. So this one is like trying to let it out one way or the other. You see, I have met people, I've met situations, I've been virtually every single thing you can imagine. I was trying to tell you, for instance, my birth. My father had about 24 children, and I think I was the 23rd. So by the time I was born, I was more of excess luggage. My parents were not together. So I was brought up by my mother. And there's so much. My mother stopped at standard 3, you know, primary 3. So she wasn't that exposed. And then you now come and have somebody like myself that I don't know how I got into Federal Government College Warri. And that was, at that time, the best in West Africa and the 9th best in the Commonwealth. So imagine getting to a school like that. By the time you go back home, the question is, who are you talking to? You're talking to your mother, who didn't even finish primary school. But yet that woman has become the greatest influence in my life. I owe so much to her, so many things. When I was born, I was so sick, and things were really, really bad. My mother had to send me to her mother in the village. So I actually grew up with my grandmother in the village. I always tell people like a joke that when your mother sends you to her mother in the village, it's called the last bus stop. It couldn't get worse than that. But I found love, in the system. My mother, my grandmother, they loved me to pieces. But I was so sick. When he says sick unto death, that was the story of my life. It was so bad that when my mother comes back from the village market, she will say, "Anye," that's like, where is he? And I will still be there. My sister, not doctor, God help me, Professor Nya-Etok used to carry me on her back. And it was so bad that I couldn't even be led to sit or stay. She was always carrying me on her back. And she tells the story that she had, the brass strap, how the line shows. She had that line because of my hands always being on her back, her always carrying me. So there's so much depth. And from that very, very, very local setting, from that very lowly setting, God saw the love, God had mercies, God had grace on me, and I survived it. There's a story of one of my aunties who had known me when I was at that time, maybe 1, 2, 3 years, always very sick and everything. And she came back home when I must have turned maybe about 7, When she came to the house, I was in the parlor, and she kept looking at me. She kept staring at me. I didn't know what it was about. After a while, she started crying. So when my mom came in, it was like, Iman Zero? No, the sister's name was Iman. She now started saying, if Nya-Etok had survived, he would be about this size today. So my mom said, which Nya-Etok? This is Nya-Etok. She said, it was like seeing a ghost. She was like, no way. He couldn't have. So he said, this is Nya-Etok. He didn't die, So when you see certain things about me, there are things that you see the grace of God. It started way back. Now follow come be my life with the grace of God. There's so much. And then how did I get from that village into Ikodekpene, which was the biggest city I'd known in my life? How did I get from there to go to Federal Government College Warri? it was like, no way, it was impossible. But it happened, and that school changed my life forever. And from there are so many things that I'm going to have to talk about, about the grace of God. Yes, that's the bottom line. About determination, about divine placement, about things. I'm going to talk about some people that have influenced my life, some people that have affected me so much. I'm going to talk about people like Architect Obon Victor Atta. I'll take a real good time to talk about certain details about that man. There are so many things about Architect Obon Victor Atta that people don't know. I worked very closely with him when he was governor, and he is a man that this country could do with, even at the present stage of his life. I think he was born in November. I think on the 20th of November, he'll be celebrating his, is it 83rd birthday? Something like that, But he is somebody that has had such a profound influence in my life. Somebody that my life history cannot be complete without him. And I'll tell you some of the details, some of the things. And for the young people in particular, please, when you come online, if you happen to come online, don't come online to be entertained. No, it's an extremely serious session. That's why I'm not looking for crowd. I didn't even say a word to anybody on anything, coming on live today, because I believe that those that God has destined for them to learn a thing or two, they are those that will come online at a time like this, because it's going to be a time for extremely serious-minded people, and it's going to be for just about 30 minutes. At the top of the hour, I'm going to go off, and believe God that I'll be able to do that daily, every single day. I'll talk about my experience at Federal Government College, Warri. It was something to talk about. Imagine somebody who came from the village, who had never, Ikot was the biggest city I'd ever known in my entire life. And, I know, oh God help me. There are some stories that I will tell you and you think, oh, it's a joke, but it's not a joke. I remember in Federal Government College, Warri, they were talking about nursery school, and I had never in my life heard that word, nursery school. Never. And here I was in secondary school. And as they were talking, I said, yeah, I'm somebody who is really, I like education. Somewhere along the line, I know I will attend a nursery school, And they said, oh, come on, They laughed, and them big joke, how funny. But the truth is, I never heard nursery school. I thought after primary school, secondary school, after secondary school, maybe nursery school or something. I'd never known, never heard nursery school. So by the time I went to Federal Government College, Warri, it was about the biggest challenge in my life. I came there green, I came there coming from the village, and if you know about Federal Government College at that time, it was a school, man. It was such that, going on vacation was common to so many people. And what's going on vacation? I mean, going abroad. I had never been to Calabar. I'd never been to Uyo. From Ikot, just lifted to Warri. Then now you're talking of Lagos. You're talking of London. You're talking of America. I remember one time when my brother came and said, one of my brothers, he's late now, and talked about, getting admission to University of Jerusalem. I just thought this guy is dead. Because as far as I was concerned, Jerusalem was in the Bible. I didn't know there was a place on earth called Jerusalem, where Jesus was born. The Jesus stories like, Bible days and not, So that's how naive I was. And then you get into this sort of school. It was, I think we were about 5 or so from, then it was Southeastern State, that got admission to that school. By the time we came the second term, only 2 of us came back. The others didn't come because, man, it was a harrowing experience. There are so many things. People say, oh, Nya-Etok, you don't have an accent, that, Calabar man's accent. You don't know. If I tell you the story, story there inside though, that accent when no day. Because in federal government college, were a guy. The moment he said, I don't know why this thing is happening like this, so they will shout, they will make so much fun of you and everything. And I was determined. That's one word that runs through my life. The story of my life can be wrapped in one word, in a sense. Well, there are so many words. Grace is one word. Determination is another word. You know, I was so determined. There were reasons why I had this determination. One of them was I told myself look, where do I start from? You know, it's going to be an interesting series. Just going through it. I'll try and take theme by theme and go, what I'm just doing right now is pictures and run around it. And I want young people. You may not have people there, but the moment you are determined to succeed and to pay the price, you will be successful. The moment you see, the mind of a man is so important. It doesn't matter where you were born, where you were born into, who your mother was, who your father was. Those are absolutely irrelevant in the story of success. It's about you, determination. I was determined to be somebody God knows I was. By the time I came to Ikotekpene, leaving my grandmother, coming to Ikotekpene, I just heard that there was this school, federal government college. I don't know what that meant, didn't mean. But they said it was the best, best. Federal government colleges are the best. And like, all I needed to hear was that it was the best. That's all I needed to hear. The moment I heard that, I said, I go to that school. Where it was, how it was, a guy that had I even entered a car as at that time? I doubt. Because I was brought up in Ikono. And those of you that know Ikono, if you are from Akwa Ibom, Ikono from Ikotekpene, it's a long distance. Yeah, if you are driving, probably about 15, 20 minutes. Not to talk if you are trekking. I used to trek from Ikono, from Bioku Ikono in Ikono to see my mother in Ikotekpene carrying firewood. So coming like that, something, I don't know what it was, but there was a hunger for me to succeed. And I was willing to pay the price. So by the time I got to, I heard there was a common entrance. Do you know I refused to take any other common entrance, those local schools and everything. Even those that were like the local champions, Methodist Boys High School, and this and that. I didn't take any. I just took that federal government college entrance. I didn't take any other one. Until results started coming and I didn't get my own. It was at last minute I had to do late common entrance, because I was like going to, miss out of going to school altogether, So I did that, and of course I did very well. And so the principal, I think my brother's school then, secondary school, boom. Yeah, the principal now called my brother and asked, he said, that's your brother Ezekiel? Is he coming? When is he coming? My brother just smiled and said, the man has gone to federal government college, because eventually my results came and I had the admission, But the bottom line I'm trying to bring out is that I was just raw determined to succeed. My name has not always been Ezekiel Nya-Etok. No, that's not my name. That's not always been my name. You'll be shocked to hear. My primary school name was Ezekiel Nya, Nya. But, usually we have in Akwa Ibom, or generally a lot of places, in Akwa Ibom you have your name, your father's name, and then your grandfather's name. For instance, if your father was Michael and your grandfather was Udofia and your name was Ezekiel, then your name would be Ezekiel Michael Udofia. Your name, your father's name, your grandfather's name. So my name was Ezekiel Jacob Nya. So, but usually they pick two names in Warri, Ezekiel Nya. That's what a lot of my Warri friends, that's what they knew me for, Ezekiel Nya. Until, how do I tell this story today? I think it should be somewhere along the way. But one thing is sure. There's a family I've never met, and that's the Omoboriowo family. I've never met them directly, but that family is responsible for my change of name. And let me just say a little bit of it, because I have just about 12 minutes to go. You know, because I definitely have to stop at top of the hour. I want to make it like 30 minutes. You know, I heard that name, I think it was in my class 3. Omoboriowo, you know, an Akwa Ibom guy, you know, Calabar man, and you know, I'm like, what? And everybody, they were just calling that name as if it was, you know, James Brown or Michael Jackson or something. Omoboriowo. I just said, how come that people are just calling this name as if it's nothing? And it so happened that the man was, I think he was a governor, you know. Then it occurred to me that once you are important, people must know your name. Once you are important, people must learn your name. Even if your name is Arnold Schwarzenegger, people will pronounce them as if it's nothing, just because you are important. And I said, my name is Ezekiel Nya, Nya. No. I must be important. People must know my name. That's how I went back to my village and asked for the names. And my father was Mr. Jacob Akpan Nya, Jacob Nya, you know. So that's how I was Ezekiel Jacob Nya. And I said, are there no other names? So they said, well, my father's full name is Jacob Akpan Nya-Etok. Like, okay, that's it. Thank you. Why do you want to know? It doesn't matter. Don't worry. I went back to Warri. You know, don't worry. I went back to Warri. I changed my name. Let me change my name. I said that Nya is just too small. I must add something to make it more difficult. So that I must be important and people must call that name. So that's how I asked them, what is the meaning of Etok? Now, rightly or wrongly, I was given the understanding that Etok means, you know, generally Etok means small. But Etok in Anang, I was told, rightly or wrongly, that Etok means fame. Awo Etok. You understand? That's just what I heard. That's what I took. I said, fame, beautiful. Yeah, I added Etok, that I must be famous. I must be known. I must have been around, how old? Probably around, maybe about 13 or so. Because right from time, I've always handled my life. Like I told you, my mother wasn't that exposed. I didn't have much of a relationship with my father, and none of my siblings. I was just like a dot, just there doing everything and anything on my own. So that is how I changed my name. And I couldn't care less what everybody thought. I said, I must be important, I must be known, I must have a difficult name, and people must, you know, pronounce that difficult name. So those are some of the things that, looking back, how could a young child of about 13, 14 take such a decision? What could have been responsible? And I just see the hand of God in my life in so many ways. You know, I wrote my life history when I was 17. I wrote my life history up to 50. I actually wrote it down. And it's just amazing how God's hand have been on me. You know, some time back, not a few weeks ago, a man died, and I felt really, really bad, because my salvation goes a long way, has a lot to do with him, and that's Reverend Nya-Etok, you know. And we used to know him as Evangelist Nya-Etok, you know. My sister was one of the singers in his group, Gospel Hour, you know. This is the gospel time, stop all you're doing, and turn to the Bible and draw near to your set. Listen, God is speaking to your soul. Hear what the Lord has for you at gospel time. something like that, So my sister was one of the backup singers, so we knew him very well, and he knew me very, very, very well. And my sister was then part of the SU, the Scripture Union, and she's my mother had 5 children. She was the first, and I the last. Professor Selina Ekpo. And being the last and probably the only one in the house, she held to me. God has always destined it from day one. My life now follow come the grace of God. So that knowledge of God that was instilled in me by my sister at that time carried me right down through till today. Because as soon as I got into Federal Government College, Warri, the first thing I asked was, where is Scripture Union meeting? And there was no Scripture Union. In secondary school, we used to have Scripture Union. But in Federal Warri, they know they do things the way others. In Federal Warri, we had CU. We didn't have SU. We had CU, Christian Union. I joined Christian Union, and I've been through that system. As soon as I went to University of Nigeria, the first thing I asked for was, where is Christian Union, Excuse me. And I joined, and I've had my issues in life, but God has always been there for me, has helped me. Why am I trying to say this? The first thing is that if you are listening to me, know that it doesn't matter what your name is. It doesn't matter who your parents is. It doesn't matter what your circumstances and situations are. The moment you are determined to succeed, you will succeed. It's like, determination is not just wishful thinking. Determination where you are willing to pay the price. Little wonder that God says, seest thou a man diligent in his way? He said that guy will stand, we stand before kings and not before commoners or mean men. And when God says something, trust me, he means it. Seest thou a man diligent in his ways? He will stand before kings and not before mean men or commoners. And the Bible also says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Don't destroy yourself. Don't be led. Don't be. It doesn't matter who you know, who you don't know. It doesn't matter. Look, I hope my life history, I hope as we go along, within these days in the month of November, that you will hear things that will inspire you. That's the essence of all these things. Things that you think, because what I really want is for people to know that it is possible. Yes, you can. That's just the bottom line. There are too many young people who lack direction. I want to be able to tell you, to show you things. How today I'm holding a public appointment for the first time in my life. I have never worked for anybody. I've never accepted any appointment. Never worked for anybody. Never. Right from secondary school, university, things were really tough. I had to work, do different things. There's nothing I haven't done. Carpentry, security, photography, furniture. Think of it. I've done virtually everything. Printing, It was at that time that I had to register a company while I was in university. And that company is a company I worked with till I retired when I turned 60. So there are so many things. I want to be able to let you know it is possible. That's what I really want to achieve more than any other thing. So it's not about how many people are on the call, whether they are 10, whether they are 1,000. For me, if there are 5 people that at the end of this period can take notes and be inspired based on facts, based on honest positions, I would have succeeded. I would have been a happy person. For me, this is my best, birthday gift that I could get, Like I said, tomorrow, November 1, I'll turn 62 years. And between that tomorrow till the end of November, I want to be able to come here by 8:30 to 9 every single day and talk, document things. It's going to be largely monologue But from time to time, I'll take up because, like, I've seen some people have sent me some questions. I'll see if I can address them. But it's not going to be question time. It's going to be just a man just talking about his life experiences, and probably some of the things that I will talk about might come from maybe the questions or the comments or the feedbacks I've gotten. But I really, 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 in this last 1 or 2 minutes, I really want people who are hungry, who are determined, people who think it might not be possible. Those people, I think, okay, I was trying to deflect it. We'll be able to discuss, I'll be able to pour out some things from me. I have a spirit that, at the risk of sounding immodest, spirit that is good. Is good. My spirit is I'm not perfect. No, far from it. I have my issues, but there's something in me that is honest, that is true, and it's something worth communicating. And my prayer, if you have a child, if you have relation, you have a friend that you think should listen to somebody that is honest, that is, I'm not perfect. Like David, I have my issues, but there's something I know that I mean well for humanity and Nigeria in particular. And there are things I have achieved by the grace of God. You do know what it means for the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to say, I want this guy. Notwithstanding, I was not in his party. I didn't support him. Do you understand me? But it has become one of my biggest inspirations to work for the president in a way that he will say, all right, it's 9 o'clock. I thank you very much.